Welcome to Holistic Kids Show. My name is Zane.
And my name's Abdullah.
We're the Holistic Kids here to educate about us kids from the inside out. Today we're talking about how chemicals are destroying our health and our planet. The bestseller author and medical doctor, Dr. Aly Cohen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cohen. Congratulations on your new book. My mom talks about how awesome your book is and how it is so needed during this time. We can't wait to discuss it with you.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I mean, this is so much fun because kids need to know this great stuff. And I'm just honored and thrilled to be part of it. So thank you guys.
Dr. Cohen, Dr. Cohen works with the Environmental Working Group, which is a published medical author with her recent book called Non-Toxic Living Healthy in a Chemical World is in stores now. Be sure to also check out her TEDx talk called How to Protect Your Kids from Toxic Chemicals. As a rec- as a rec- as a recognitive as a rec- okay as an author that is recognized all over the world for health education. Dr. Cohen also works as a writer, interviewer, and producer for children and adult health programs on any array of network and cable TV channels. And most importantly, she is a boy mom, just like my mom is with two boys, and so she knows how to deal with us boys. So
does that mean we can't use our boy tricks on her?
Oh, boy.
Probably won't get them at all. She probably already knows our tricks from her own boys. So we better behave. Thank you, Dr. Cohen. Thank you so much for joining us today. We want to know what got you passionate about information and environmental health.
Great question, guys. So I guess, a lot of people stumble into the work they do as adults a lot of times because of something that affected them personally and made them very either sad or happy, and it kind of drove them into their career. What happened was I was a doctor already, and then I had a dog that actually got really sick, and he was like a little pup baby. He was like 3.5 years old, and he got really sick, and I didn't know why. And it turned out that it was a kind of an illness that a dog shouldn't get. And I was trying to figure out what made him sick. And I looked at his dog food, whether it was contaminated with something, or his dog treats. I was worried about his drinking water, whether it might have had some chemicals in it or something, or pesticides. We live in New Jersey, which is the garden state. So we have lots of farming and lots of pesticides. And so I kept on trying to figure out what made this baby dog sick. And, the more I was trying to figure out what could make him sick, I realized that there's just so few laws and regulations that protect humans from many of the chemicals that we are always around in the United States. And it really got me upset, and it made me angry. And as I started to learn about that, it was the same time I was learning about patients getting sicker younger. So I started to realize that environment plays a really important role in human health. And I wanted to make sure I learned enough about it so I could share it with patients. And now, of course, I'm sharing it with the world so that people have control over what they put in their bodies, what they put on their bodies, the air they breathe, the water they drink, and they can make really healthy choices. So it's a guidebook to help people.
So we definitely have a problem. We're exposed to more and more chemicals, pesticides, pharmaceutical drugs, and radiation than ever before, with more than 100,000 new chemicals coming up year after year. And with kids and adults getting sicker and sicker and more chemicals on the market, is there a connection?
Yeah. Well, it turns out that we now know many of these chemicals that are in our environment. We have about a 90,000, as you mentioned, very, very high numbers that get into our part of our products that we, cook with. Our food has a lot of chemicals in it, which I'm sure you're well aware because I know your mom. And she teaches you very, well about food and the quality of food and having less chemicals, because that's good for your bodies, growing bodies. But as the number has gone higher and higher with very little testing to see if any of these chemicals actually cause harm, there's also been a correlation or association with illness. Autoimmune disease have gone up in terms of numbers. We know diabetes is not just because of sugar, which we often think about diabetes from sugar, but we also know that many of the chemicals that are in or around us actually can mess with our insulin and our sugar production, our chemicals that help break down sugar and put that sugar in the right places. So, there's a lot of chemicals that start messing with the body's normal ability to thrive. And it turns out that there's a lot of information around the world that supports the idea that environment plays a key role in a variety of chronic health conditions, and not just chronic, but short-term conditions like asthma, which happens immediately if if someone smells the wrong chemical or, has a reaction. So there's not just short-term health issues. There's also long-term issues like cancers and autoimmune disease and obesity and diabetes. So the answer is there's a lot of groups like American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists who delivered you guys. There's a lot of doctors out there who are now getting more and more aware of this connection, and hopefully will teach their patients and patients like your age to do better. That's all.
So what is a toxin?
So a toxin is something that actually comes from so it's a poison that comes from something synthetic or man-made. A toxic, or I should say other way around, sorry about that. Toxics are really from synthetic man-made chemicals. Toxin tends to come from a living mammal or creature, like, you think about a snake toxin. Unfortunately, in popular culture, we use toxin quite readily, but we really mean it's synthetic, even though it's really supposed to be more of a natural chemical. So it's just, the fact that Americans and the world think of toxin as fake or synthetic. It's really a toxic. And these are things that aren't normally part of the human body. They were developed by human beings in chemistry labs and put them together in different creations to do certain things like plastics that we now know make the casings of our phones and our TVs. And we use plastics for pretty much everything now. I'm sure you guys have plastic toys and all sorts of things, but we have chemicals for a variety of things we use: personal care products, shampoo, conditioner, chemicals for couches to protect them from stains. If you were to stain, your carpeting or your couch from eating or, spilling a drink, there are chemicals that people have come up with to protect that. And those aren't great chemicals for human health. So, we just have to think about what we use around our homes and choose better choices. And that's what this book tries to do, is give people guidance as to make better choices.
Where are toxins like endocrine disruptors and heavy metals located?
So the chemicals that are called endocrine disruptors are pretty much all around us, and they're in a lot of what we do every day. Same with heavy metals. We get metals from plumbing that affects our drinking water. You can get lead and heavy metals from a variety of places. But what happens with, say, endocrine disruptors is that they come in and they kind of disrupt the body's normal hormones. So you have hormones in your body that are helping you grow and manage your sugars to make sure that when you eat something yummy and sweet, it gets broken down properly and you don't get anything disease-wise and you're healthy. We have hormones for when you become an adolescent and you start to grow into a grown man. We have hormones for your thyroid, which is a gland in your neck that helps your metabolism and growth and has helped you make your brain. And so we have a lot of these hormones, which are signalers around the body to do things. And these chemicals called endocrine disruptors can disrupt those signals. And that's what the problem is. We don't want things disrupting the normal chemical signaling in our bodies.
What about heavy metals? Where are they located?
Well, heavy metals such as lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, there's a variety. And I'm sure if you guys have what's called the periodic table in science class, you can almost see where the heavy metals are located and what their little, acronym is for the name of lead, like PB. So when you get a chance, look at your periodic table. It's pretty cool. But heavy metals were never designed to be in the human body. They were designed to be in stuff we need for, like stainless steel is a heavy, that's part made up of heavy metals, but it sticks to itself. It doesn't break off. Whereas lead can make its way from metal objects and plumbing, bullets for people who do firing ranges, mechanics who work on metals in their cars, car services. So we can get lead from a lot of different places. Nowadays, we're getting it from water, drinking water, like Flint, Michigan, Newark, New Jersey, a variety of places. And that is something we have to filter out, which I'm sure your mom has talked about. And you probably have a great water filter, I would imagine. But that's kind of important to do in your home because we can't always, believe that the water is so clean.
We make sure we eat to detoxify with lots of greens. Stay away from chemicals and make sure we sweat daily. Even take an Epsom salt bath. Easy things we can do to detoxify. What are the steps to get rid of these toxins in our body and how to stay away from these toxins?
Great question. This is Zane. Abdullah is over to the right. Okay. So yeah. Great question, guys. So, our bodies have been around a very long time, and our bodies have the ability to break down a lot of the chemicals, not all of them, but a lot of them quite efficiently. And a lot of that has to do with our liver chemicals like glutathione and a bunch of different chemicals that our liver is able to break down and get rid of through our urine and when we go to the bathroom. So, it's a really important strategy is exercise. So that sends blood to all parts of your body, but particularly the liver, to get that liver working and churning up all the bad chemicals. Exercise is great for our brains, as you know. It feels good to run around and not be on a computer all day. I'm sure you guys are doing remote learning now, which is brutal. So we know that exercise is really great for sweating. We've developed sweat glands, and those sweat glands help to move the toxins and harmful substances from our body's blood to the surface of our skin in a watery form and get it out of the body. So exercise, sauna, a classic sauna that makes you sweat because it's really hot in there. That's great for people who have arthritis of their knees, their legs, their back, and they can't really go out and run. So a sauna is great too. Clean drinking water helps you flush out bad chemicals. Good sleep, having enough good quality sleep is really important because it clears some of the chemicals even around our brains from the lymphatic system we have around our brains. So getting good sleep, clean water, exercise, these are what makes humans thrive.
We love to add foods that will keep our bodies alkaline. Eat lots of their foods, of lots of fiber foods and foods that will help our body make glutathione. Glutathione is a super cleaner of the body and the liver, where all the toxins can get stored when the liver can't get rid of them. So, what foods can we eat to boost our glutathione?
Great question, guys, because we know that food is medicine. And I know your mom works really hard to make sure you eat really delicious, healthy, nutrient-rich foods. And really that's wonderful because she sets an example for everyone else to teach them that there are certain foods, particularly plants, like cruciferous vegetables, thinking like broccoli and kale, Brussels sprouts. There's so many great cauliflower. These are great, what are called cruciferous vegetables that actually are really good at churning up the chemicals that break down, or the human chemicals that break down the bad chemicals. So now, in other words, the human body has its own set of chemicals that are natural that are used to break down the synthetic ones, the man-made ones that get into our bodies. And so I always recommend a diet that's filled with vegetables, but particularly cruciferous vegetables that are either organic or cleaned off from pesticides, because that would defeat the purpose to have lots of vegetables with lots of pesticides on them. So I try to encourage people to wash their vegetables if they don't have organic available, and then organic is just as fine as well. So, all of it is great, but veggies, plant-based diet is wonderful for the human body.
What are other detoxifying foods?
Detoxifying foods, you really just want good quality fats. The body really thrives off of very high quality fatty foods that are like fish oil, coconut oils, nut butters like cashew butter, almond butter. Do you guys like almond butter?
Yes.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen some recipes your mom made with pancakes and nut. She makes these crazy delicious desserts, and she makes me feel like a bad mom because she posts such beautiful, beautiful, healthy desserts and foods that I love. But nut butters that are made from churned up nuts like cashews and almonds are super, super healthy and have lots of great fats that the body needs, because your body needs not just vegetables, it needs good fats and it needs protein to grow. And so there's lots of different sources for really clean fats and clean protein that were part of our diet for millions of years. And that's what we want to kind of stick to as much as we can.
What foods should we stay away from to optimize our detoxification and help our body get rid of chemicals?
Well, I will say that under stress, I don't make the best choices. And, we want to stay away from a lot of sugary, or at least I would say start with the chemical foods, the foods that have lots of chemicals and, synthetic stuff. But you can find natural versions or less chemicals in sweet things like cookies and cakes if you really have a sweet tooth. And then maybe the next step is to try to reduce sugar, because sugar in and of itself is a little inflammatory, even though it's not a fake chemical. It comes from the earth, it comes from sugar cane, but it still has issues in terms of inflammation in the body. So I guess my recommendation is, try to do the best you can at reducing the fake stuff, junk food technically. And then after that, try working on lowering the amount of sugar, which doesn't necessarily have to be fake, but doesn't also feel that it's, it's not always great for the human body either. So it's a process. And once in a while, it's not bad to have a treat. And that way you don't feel so bad about working hard the rest of the time. So that's what I try to do is work hard most of the time, but I allow treats.
Environmental toxins are bad for your body and the planet. Unfortunately, our food, water, and homes and body care products are often the source of hidden toxins that we are interacting with daily. What are ways we can change our homes to help us keep the toxins away from us?
Well, that's a good one. So one of the things I tell people, my patients in the community on the Smart Human and the smarthuman.com, which is my platform to educate other people on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, is I tell the Smart Human listeners and the people who are reading the post that the first thing you want to do is just not buy a lot of this junk to begin with. In other words, we don't need a lot of products that we're kind of told we need, like cleaning of our windows versus cleaning of our chairs, and carpet powders and air fresheners and, chemicals on fabrics like fabric softeners. We don't really need a lot of these chemicals that are in our couches that are supposedly going to prevent us from fires in our house, which turned out not really to be true. So we really got to start thinking about why are we sold and told that we need to buy so many products? If we don't buy them to begin with and we don't bring them in our house, we won't necessarily have as much of those chemicals in our bodies. So the very first thing is don't buy it if you don't need it, and keep your products limited, and then vet them out to make sure that they're safe. And you can do that very easily. I also try to get people to think about clean drinking water, because it's just so important to human health. How can we filter our water better so that we're safe and we have a system moving forward of getting drinking water for now and even into the future for years to come? I mean, you guys are young guys, so the amount of water you're going to drink in a lifetime is like probably 20 swimming pools at least. So you want to think about all that water and how clean it could possibly be to go into your body, and figure out how you can do that most of the time. And we already talked about food. Personal care products, you can figure out which ones are safe or not safe, because there's a bunch of resources that you can look up in the book and I'll hold it up, the book that I have just written with my co-author, which I think is probably backwards on these kind of phones. I'm not sure. But anyway, This is the kind of book that's a guidebook for people who don't really know. It's called Non-Toxic Guide to Living Healthy in a Chemical World. And this is the kind of book that for people who aren't really sure how to make those, choices on food and personal care products and how to choose couches properly without, chemicals. This is the kind of book that's going to walk them through it, really carefully and really easily, and empower them to feel good about, making these choices.
How can we improve our air and water quality?
Well, water is filtration, and there's a variety of ways to do that, anywhere from a pitcher that has a carbon block filter to what's called a reverse osmosis water filter, which I bet you guys have.
Yes.
Yep. And reverse osmosis is just a much more aggressive way to clean your tap water or your well water, because it cleans it right at the sink. And so that's a really good way to clean water, and it's not as expensive as they used to be before. Of course, they're very reasonable. And so cleaning your drinking water at the point of use, which is at the faucet, is really important. Air quality, again, a lot of it has to do with not bringing a lot of these cleaning chemicals, carpet chemicals, fabric chemicals, surface cleaners. A lot of it's cleaners. Flame retardants from couches that you might have bought 10, 15 years ago that required chemicals in the foam. Now we don't have that problem. We can actually choose couches without flame retardant chemicals. And that's a good way to get those out of your home as well. And, anything we spray in the house often lands in dust, and dust is a big junky ball of chemicals. And so we really want to clean our houses as best we can. I'm not sure if your mom makes you guys clean, but my kids never clean, and I wish they would, learn from other kids. Cleaning is actually really important. Even if it's your own room, you want to vacuum, you want to dust, you want to get rid of dust and chemicals that may accumulate from a lot of stuff in our lives.
Yeah, we clean all the time, right, Dan? Someone has to do the dishes.
Someone.
Okay, so what are things we can do in the kitchen to lessen the toxic load in our bodies?
Great question. So you can pick out which, for instance, cooking pans. We want to have cooking pans that aren't nonstick, that have a chemical glaze on top, because oftentimes those nonstick pans tend to have chemicals in them that will get into the food you're cooking, especially if it's fatty food like eggs or olive oil foods. So you want to think about your cookware, pans, storage materials like the plastic containers a lot of people use. Nowadays, you can buy glass containers pretty much anywhere. So it's always better to heat up things in glass. Using stainless steel is a great option, but trying to avoid plastics and canned foods whenever you can, because cans have plastic inside the lining. That's a really good place to start when it comes to your kitchen and how you cook in your home.
What can we do with the products we use, like cleaners, detergents, and self-care products?
Well, I recommend people go to some of the resources that we list in the book, but also, Environmental Working Group is a wonderful partner. They're a group of people that really do figure out which products are safer than others as best they can. And they teach people, in fact, I teach high school students how to download their app and to type in, I'll give them each products from the store, whether it's lipstick or body spray or deodorant or shampoo, conditioner, and I'll hand it out to the students, and the students will take a look at their product, they'll type it into the app, and they'll be able to figure out from that app whether or not that product they're holding is actually harmful or not, and they'll be able to look up options for better choices. So it's really important to teach kids and everybody how to do something instead of just giving them the product, because the product can change, the formulation can change over time. It's better to teach people how to do something than to just give them the answer. I'm sure you've learned that in school, because the answer is great, but it's how to do it which will teach you that for the rest of your life.
I know kids are constantly getting fluoride treatments and exposure in their water and toothpaste. Fluoride is a known toxin for your brain. Fluoride damages more than 200 enzymes. And if you look at the back of the toothpaste, all fluoride toothpastes have a warning to call poison control if swallowed. Now that doesn't seem safe. What are your thoughts on how we can lower this exposure?
So yeah, fluoride's been added to our water systems, and many of them across the country for many, many years, and it's been supported by the American Dental Association on many levels. In fact, their products, of course, have fluoride in many of them. Fluoride is a pretty controversial substance. It is fluorinated, means that it stays in our bodies, it stays in our environment because it doesn't break down very well. And it is a neurotoxin, and it is capable of affecting IQ. There was an interesting study that actually showed that IQ can be lowered from just pregnant women drinking fluorinated water, which is just water with fluoride in it. So we really want to think about how we get that fluoride in our body and whether it's really necessary to get it in our drinking water, which again goes back to filtration. So if you filter off the fluoride, you're in better shape. There are some people that really do feel that painting on fluoride at the dentist's office is a safe way to go for people who have a lot of really bad teeth issues. So that's controversial, but I know that we shouldn't be consuming it. And that's really something we want to avoid. Even children who swallow it as young children, it can be, harmful. So the question is, how do you limit it? I would say start by limiting it from water, drinking water. It's just unnecessary. And then you have to work through whether or not you actually need it topically as you move forward, and you can discuss that, with parents and do a little more research and talk about it with your dentist.
So we're hearing a lot about EMF, or electromagnetic field exposure. Is this really a concern?
Well, we're using a lot of technology. I mean, as my kids are home doing remote schooling, I'm sure you guys are, and we're using more and more technology, different tech toys. We can now, fix our furnace or, our temperature of our house with just our phone. We can turn on our car from inside the kitchen when it's cold out. So there's all these different cool tech toys and apps and technology, and that's not going to go away. In fact, it probably is going to get even more, increased over time. But what we need to think about, and what this book, Non-Toxic, talks about, is a whole chapter on how to use our technology safely, or safer. In other words, you don't want to put your laptop right on your crotch, right on your pants. You don't want to do that. You want to put it on a table, because you don't want all that radiation going to very sensitive parts of your body, especially because you're growing. You don't want to put cell phones in, women sometimes put them in their bras or their shirt pockets that are close to their breast tissue, which is really vulnerable tissue. So we really want to keep our toys with radiation, because it's an antenna with radiation. We want to keep them away from really sensitive parts of our body. It just makes good sense. It doesn't mean you don't have to use them. We want to put them on airplane mode when we're not using them. I'm sure your parents probably talk to you about airplane mode on phones and technology.
Yes.
Yeah, because it cuts off that cellular connection to your phone. And so my boys are always told, never put your phones in your pockets without putting on airplane mode, and never go to bed next to your phone if it's not on airplane mode, because you don't want that near your brain, your skull. And they do use cell phones, but they use them within reason and safely, or else I take them away. So that's the rules in our house. But, there's just very smart ways to handle it. And we kind of tell people how to do it in a really reasonable way.
That was so empowering. What are your last tips kids can use today to lower toxins in their bodies and home?
So top tips, you say?
Yeah.
Okay, so top tips are, first, don't buy stuff if you don't need it. Try to cut back on makeup extra makeup you don't need. And then the makeup that you use, cosmetics, personal care products, just look them up on Environmental Working Group. .org, EWG.org, so that you can see which products are safe and which ones you can change out to safer versions. Get a drinking water system in place. Think about how you want to clean your water, and you'll be doing that for the rest of your life. So it's a great time now to do that. And then also try to eat clean food that is less processed. Don't buy a lot of chemicals in your house for cleaning that are unnecessary. And then just use your technology around your house and your home and in schools really safely and smart. Give it a distance from your body. whenever you're using it or not using it, and turn it off when you just don't need it.
That was so empowering. Where can we learn more about you and your amazing work? And where can we find your books?
Thank you for asking. So my work is really The Smart Human. The Smart Human is my educational platform for everyday people, for kids, for teenagers, for moms, dads. It's really meant to give people bits of great information Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it's really kind of fun because on Fridays, it's mental health Fridays where I post fun posts. On Mondays, I post on sustainability and how the earth is managing chemicals. And then on Wednesday, I talk about how the human body is handling chemicals and what we can do about air quality, water quality, nutritional information. So I really like it to be a variety of topics, and that's all on thesmarthuman.com or on Facebook, The Smart Human, Twitter and Instagram, The Smart Human. And then my book, which just came out, so I'm really thrilled to be here with you guys, is available on Amazon.com and I believe independent booksellers, sometimes locally. I know there's a little bit of a back order now, interestingly enough. I guess it's hitting a chord that people are interested in this topic. But certainly I encourage people listening to really consider getting this book because you'll refer to it back, more and more times than you think. Just looking up ideas and concepts and lists. And we have recipes for detoxing. We have tear off refrigerator sheets for a simple list of what you can start doing to make lifestyle changes. So, a chapter on getting pregnant, what you can think about when you decide you want to get pregnant, and how to get your body cleaner. So I'm hoping people will really embrace it. And that's just found on the internet. So Non-Toxic, Guide to Living Healthy in a Chemical World.
Everyone, make sure to follow Dr. Cohen on social media. Thank you so much, Dr. Cohen, for joining us today. And helping us kids empower other kids. We are so honored. To recap Dr. Cohen's key points, us kids can change the world inside and out. But first, we gotta start with taking care of our bodies and our environment. So we don't pollute our bodies, brain, and world. Number one, toxins are all around us. We need to first recognize where they are. We need to recognize where they are and read labels of not just food, but the products you are using. 2, make sure you are moving your body fluids every day. Make sure you are pooping, peeing, sweating every day. We love our Epsom salt bath. And to exercise and play games outside to make sure we sweat. 3, eat to detoxify. Eat real whole foods with lots of color. The color will give you the energy. Your cells need to work better. We love to make sure we eat every day, every color of fruits and vegetables. Step 5, stay away from processed fake foods and sugar. Swap out toxic items for clean items. Start in your kitchen. Use glass or cast iron to store your product, to store and cook stuff in. Use all natural body products like shampoos, detergents, soaps, and lotion. Get a filter for water and air. Turn off electronics when not using. And most importantly, just don't buy junk. Live your life daily to detoxify. Be grateful. Incorporate stress management techniques into your daily routine, like meditation, prayer, and mindfulness. Make sure you give your body the rest it needs. So make sure you sleep.
Thank you again, Dr. Cohen. That was amazing. I hope kids start talking this seriously. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Until next time, I'm Zain Ansari.
And I'm Abdullah.
Follow my family and I on social media, Holistic Mom MD, and look out for my mom's book, The Holistic RX, Your Guide to Healing Chronic Inflammation and Disease. And the amazing children's book we wrote together is out, Adam's Healing Adventure. So check it out on Amazon. Yay! Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kids Show, where kids are empowering kids. We know, especially with school, it's overwhelming. But if we can do it, you can too. And the children's book will help you. So check out Adam's Healing Adventures on Amazon today and make sure you leave a review. Thank you, everyone. Time to get rid of our toxins.
Thanks, guys, for having me. It was so much fun, and you were amazing.